For the latest Pacific Rim Uprising news updates, visit hybridnetworkyt.com. Hey guys, it's Tim coming at you with a brand new Pacific Rim related video for this week. So throughout the course of our videos, we've gone over the various specs and equipment that the various Jaegers of the Pacific Rim franchise have. So for this video, I thought that we'd have some fun and look at certain equipment that potential future Jaegers could have, given the equipment that they've had in the past. So, for example, I'm not going to throw out the idea of having a tiny forehead laser that's powerful enough to destroy a city, because there's nothing proving that the Jaegers of the Pacific Rim universe can even do anything close to that, as cool as that may be. So for my first idea, going off of the fact that Pacific Rim draws upon a lot of popular mecha anime and TV shows of the past in order to use them, homage them, and build its own universe around the ideas they've set up. So my first idea comes from the Big O, with the patented piston punch. With it, the entirety of the forearm of the Big O is on a sliding piston, from the elbow to the wrist, so that when it swings towards its opponent, it gets an extra boost of force with its punch. And there's already something similar to this in universe with the fact that Gypsy Danger had an extra rocket in its elbow that also allowed it to increase the velocity of its punch. But instead of increasing the velocity of the punch the entire time, it would be a sudden jolt of energy upon impact. And that could in theory help them catch their opponent off guard. But let's move on from physical weapons to energy-based weapons. We already know that several of the Jaegers, and more specifically Gypsy Danger, have the ability to fire plasma shots. But instead of using the plasma as a projectile weapon, how about instead you use it as a physical weapon, and give the Jaegers specialized plasma cutting tools. Now there are plasma cutters in real life, largely used to cut through and shape metals. And these tools have a temperature that can reach 20,000 degrees Celsius and have a velocity that can approach the speed of sound. So using plasma as a cutting weapon would certainly be devastating to anything that it's being used on. But since mechas in general run on rule of cool, how about instead of just having a stream of plasma like plasma cutters are in real life, and instead shaping them into more specialized weapons like an axe, or my personal preference, a plasma chainsaw. If they take this idea and run with it, we can get a lot of really cool fights in Uprising. Next up, like I've stated in previous videos, the Jaegers really should be adapting to match what the Kaijus are able to do, similar to what the Kaijus do to the Jaegers already. With that in mind, I present two ideas. The first of which being a jetpack, or at least some kind of large-scale rocket propulsion that would allow them to take to the sky. The first movie already gave us flying kaiju, so it only seems fitting that they would try to adapt to that and allow their Jaegers to fight them on their own terms. And we already know that they know how much is needed to lift a Jaeger into the air, since to go long distances, Jaegers are transported by helicopter, so they have to be able to be lifted through the air. What they would have to do is be able to create that much force to keep them airborne, while still keeping it compact enough that it wouldn't allow the Jaeger to become over-encumbered. And like I said before, they already have some form of rocket propulsion, at least with the limbs of certain Jaegers. They would just have to be able to do that on a larger scale to make this work. And finally, operating on the idea that less is more, I think it would be an interesting idea to have a Jaeger that could shed off additional armoring in order to gain a speed advantage. It would have less defense, but be able to move around more quickly to adapt to the kind of kaiju that it's fighting. So when the Jaeger is deployed to fight against a kaiju, if that kaiju happens to be very quick but doesn't hit very hard, they could shed the additional armoring and be able to keep pace with it without much issue. But if they're facing a slower, more tanky enemy, they could keep the armoring on and be able to hit harder and take more damage. And this would allow for a lot more strategy in kaiju battles. The big downside to this would be retrieving the armoring once they shed it. But since they already salvage kaiju battle sites anyways, so long as they get there first, that shouldn't be a huge issue. And those are my idea for potential future Jaeger weapons, but what do you guys think? What would you like to see future Jaegers be able to do, and what weaponry would you like to see? Well, as always, let us know down in the comments, and if you want to hear more Pacific Rim Uprising related videos, click that subscribe button and the bell next to it to be immediately informed whenever a new video goes up. But until next time, this has been Tim from the Hybrid Network, signing out.